founder of Puck. I write the What I'm Hearing newsletter twice a week. I'm also the host of the Town podcast. Oh, Town Ben, thank you. We've got a great group tonight. I want to introduce them one by one. I have no idea what order they're standing in or where they will sit, but we're going to start with Issa López, our showrunner, writer, director, well, there's lots to talk about with this show. There is a lot on the internet about this show. I'm not sure you know that, but
a little bit.
I've read and listened to a lot of discussion. My first question has got to be for Issa here, because the construction of this show is so dense and so character-driven and also interesting mystery. What was your starting page for this? What was the beginning where you said, okay, are you the kind of writer that writes from the end to the beginning? Did you know where it was going from the beginning, or what's your process like?
It was a discovery because I had never written a whodunit before, a murder mystery, and I don't even remember where. I'm a fan of them. I grew up obsessed with them. Somewhere I read that you have an answer and then you walk backwards. And I tried that and it didn't work. So I tried the other way around. I decided what's the initial mystery, which is the disappearance of these men. And that came from the setting, the Arctic. And I was just playing around with the idea of a murder mystery. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it so quickly. And discovered the setting, the disappearance of the men, and then the revelation of these men did something terrible. They had to commit such a sin that it comes to haunt them. And the women came to me. So I had those three things, that's it. Put it in that drawer to let it either rot or become something else. And then I got a call from HBO, and they were, everyone was going crazy in the pandemic, and they were thinking if anybody could revive True Detective, and they asked what I would do with True Detective, and I was like, let me check this drawer.
And did you have a relationship with HBO beforehand, or was this out of the blue?
It was out of the blue, and it was one of those happy calls. I love their stuff. You know, they really, I think, created prestige TV. They finally pushed TV into one of the visual arts, to the level of cinema, I think. And I love TV, and if I was going to do TV, I wanted to be with them. And True Detective of all things, so I was not sad, let's put it that way.
Jodie, how about you? When did you come to this project, and what was the tipping point that caused you to want to do your first show, basically, since you were a kid?
Yeah, well, it was pretty easy because I read the first episode that Issa had written, and you know, when you read something that works and you know that there's so much truth there, so much depth there, so I knew right away that was something I was interested in. And then I met Issa, so that pretty much sealed the deal. But I did have we had an incredible lunch together. And then at the end of it, I think right before I was about to leave, I said, you know, it's really great, except I don't like the character that I'm playing.
Right before standing up.
Oh, wow.
Just as I was ready to start dancing and calling people, she goes, yeah, I don't like the character.
So what's the next statement after that?
Well, we worked it out. We talked about what it was, and I think in the end, it was just amazing for me to see her be able to pivot a little bit and then also to come up with things that were much better ideas than I had, and to be able to create a new character that supported the central character, which is Kayla's character, Aero, to sort of reverse engineer Danvers so that she's there in support of Kayla's character.
And I had read that you had described your character as Alaska Karen. But I don't actually agree. I think that's sort of giving short shrift a little. She's she's much more nuanced and more complex and sort of sad.
No, she's worse than that. Yes, glass Karen with like a comma. Just one word. Yeah, she's awful. And there's a lot of fun. And I think what we found out in rehearsals, which was so cool, was we found the humor to the show. Even though obviously Issa's a funny person and there's, there are little bits and pieces of humor, there was an interesting kind of humor between Navarro and Danvers that happened because Danvers, she's so funny. And Navarro's been having to listen to this for however many years, and that they've built up this sort of tolerance. They're the only two people that can tolerate each other. And there was something kind of beautiful in that.
So, give me your origin story on this. It must have been an interesting call. So would you like to star opposite Jodie Foster?
Well, I was just minding my business. I was trying this new career out, and I actually didn't know initially. Our initial call with Issa was kind of, who are you? Because I come from a career and I just had very little work before this, and I had no idea it was even for True Detective. I had just been introduced to Issa's work, and I got a call like this very, very talented director about this very good project, wants to get to know you, talk to you about your process, and then I'm like, process, okay. Process. So we had a really good conversation. I was really familiar with work, immediately fell in love with it, and I just really was interested in her story, what she had on the table, and we had a really good conversation, and she gave me an idea, very stupid idea, about who the character was, who the story was, and I was like, okay, and then I found out it was for True Detective, and I was like, oh, it's for True. I was a huge fan, so I'm like, okay, great. I did the audition and I kind of threw caution to the wind, and I'm like, okay, it was probably, I don't come from a, 20 years of doing other auditions and now we do self-tapes. I just come from the self-tape world. So I did my audition and I kind of was like, I really want this. And I just let it go. And I was hoping for it. And then in the middle of kind of like waiting for the call, I found out that Jodie was going to be Danvers, and I was like, holy crap, this happened. This is what happened. Oh man, I got push for it, and then I got the call, and it was, congratulations, and I'm sorry. I was like, wait, well, I got the call from Issa. I'm like, what do you mean I'm sorry? This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, but it was the most rewarding, and I was really excited that, this opportunity kind of fell into my hands, and what better way to get into so early on in my career with this amazing story. I mean, I fell in love with the story. I was like, are they gonna send me the rest of the script? I really want to know. And it just kind of went from there, and here we are.
So what about her self-tape? Put it over the top.
There was a massive shift with Navarro because when I first wrote the pilot, Navarro in my mind was a Mexican immigrant. No reason. And she had joined the military, as many immigrants do, and that had left some marks. I really understood that character. But the more I learned about these small towns in Northwest Alaska, the more I understood that 70% of the population is Inuit. And because the center of the mystery is horrors that happened to an Inuit woman, it would have been absolutely a disservice to that community and to the location that I was writing a love letter to. So I left a tiny bit of a Latina in Navarro, last name, Dad. That's not a small, by the way, you carry that shit. But I decided I needed an indigenous star. And this is the before Lily Gladstone era. And the moment that I worked with my wonderful casting director, Francine Meisner, she said, there is a woman. She made this incredible movie, and she sent me a photo. The photo alone. I saw her and I was like, that's Navarro. Hoping that the movie was any good. You never know. It was great, and Kaylee killed it. So I knew that I had found my Navarro. Much, much better than my Mexican idea, I have to say. I do Mexicans all the time, later.
So MJ, obviously it's very different to produce a mystery show than it is to produce a true true detective mystery show. So what kind of, I don't want to say baggage or sort of heft did you feel producing this show? Did it have to have certain things, certain beats, certain mythologies?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I was introduced to Issa through HBO. Big fan of True Detective, had watched Tigers Are Not Afraid, was really interested in doing something different, female forward, was what HBO, when HBO approached me, they were like, we're making a female forward version of True Detective. So, look, the high bar of the genre, and also for women to be at the helm was super important, and also to get all the details right. And, the adventure of figuring out Alaska was huge, and also just the kind of making a detective genre that had an undercurrent of social justice themes, violence against women, murder of missing Indigenous women, climate activism, environmental racism, mental health issues. I mean, it was jam-packed. So there's a lot of responsibility in carrying out those themes through the show.
You did it was a 100% green production?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, explain it, how does that, I'm not familiar with how that works.
Yeah. Well, I've been greening film sets since 2003, and actually wrote some of the protocols for the industry for sustainability, and take them everywhere I go. So you start in the beginning with a conversation with Issa, with HBO. HBO has a program called HBO Green. They're incredibly supportive and help put resources into it. So, you start from the beginning, and you think about the whole process from script through distribution of how you're going to put it through a sustainability lens. And you just, and it's a lot of communication with crew members. It's, having support. We had a sustainability supervisor. We implemented clean energy tech. We were in the benefit of being in Iceland, where there's 100% clean energy. So anytime we were tied in, we were not burning fossil fuels, which was incredible, and it was very aspirational for what we could do here. It was just an extraordinary experience. So there's a lot more to it, and I don't want to take up all the time with sustainability, but it's the wave of the future, and we all need to participate in it, particularly getting off of fossil fuels. So
I was reading, Issa, where you said that True Detective is male and sweaty. Night Country is cold and dark and female. Explain what you mean by that.
The male and smelly part. First of all, I adore True Detective, so much so that I jump on board of this, and I have no problem with male sweat. True. That said, you watch that beautiful series, that first season, and you want to see the reverse. It does what it does so beautifully. It's such an exploration of the good parts and the terrible parts and everything between that happens with and to men. The responsibility, the good men, bad men, good versus evil, and what male role is into that. Killed it. Why do more? So I decided that all of those questions were amazing. Being a good person, being a bad person, trying to bring justice in a world that doesn't want justice as a woman, in a place that is not the best place to be a woman, like most places, but this especially. So it immediately made me hungry for the characters and for the moments and for the scenes and for all the new ways to see this and the heroes.
You did an interesting interview with Guillermo del Toro recently, and I was listening to it, and you talked a little bit about the tradition in Mexican filmmaking of incorporating horror with sort of personal demons. And it seems like that is exactly what plays out in this show. Did you feel that going into it, that this was a horror story that you were going to tell from sort of the internal and external perspective?
Well, one of the first things I told HBO, they said, what would you do, True Detective? And I said, Alaska women horror, because that first season of True Detective had that width of the supernatural, of the Lovecraftian, of the Yellow King, of Carcosa. And constantly it moved between, maybe this is a bunch of crazy people in Louisiana, or maybe there is an darker universe operating behind the scenes. And it's for us to decide. So I miss that in the second and third season very much. So I will bring it back with a vengeance. That's what
With the mythology, especially of that first season, explain the process of incorporating that, but not going too far and getting it enough so the fans will recognize it. But like I watching the pilot, I did not recognize it. I had to be told, and then afterward, you sort of look for it and you can see it. So was there a lot of debate about how much to include that would be callbacks?
Well, like most everything in storytelling, I think if you create an intention of going for it, you're going to fucking fail. So you just stay open. And when the story asked for something that echoed that first season, I would let it happen. So I'll give you an example. There was a symbol where our world is close to the netherworld in my country. And I could have created a different symbol. And that was organic in the scripts, you know, there's the mark that one of the bodies has, and it could have been a different symbol. Why? If I'm saying that this is happening in the same world, in the same reality, in the same timeline, where Rose Cole and Mary Hart are beat a couple of years ago, faced these demons, and that's the other world. It should be the same other world, because we're sharing a universe. So every time that the story asked for an element that naturally could come from the first season, I did it. It was not breadcrumbing the fans. And some of them loved it, and some of them were like, you did that on purpose. Kind of. It's the same universe, so that's what happened.
Jodie, obviously you're an accomplished filmmaker as well. When you approach a project like this, where you're producing but you're not directing and you're starring, is it hard for you to let go a little, or are you the in-your-face collaborator? What's your process like? When you,
It depends, really. I mean, what was so great about this was that the characters were amazing, the script was amazing, and it was really just about all of us participating in deepening what we already had and trying to have answers for things. I get annoying in rehearsal because I'll be like, but why is she wearing blue? But why is that? So I do ask the questions of why, and then we have to all figure out, run around being very annoyed, trying to figure out what the answers are. But I don't think that I have been on movies where I felt like I wanted to turn it in a different direction, and that's always a huge mistake because it's a director's medium and I'm here to serve the director, and I love that, especially love that about doing streaming and doing television, is that, 100% you are there to serve the showrunner, to serve this larger piece, and to me that's the best part of what I do now.
do you have a moment during shooting where you look around and you're like, wow, okay, this is the big time. This is something I'm going to remember. This is a process moment that I'm going to always take with me in my career. Something maybe something you learned from Jodie.
Oh, well, I mean, the whole process, from getting the call, that was big. I mean, when I went to Iceland, flying first class, I was like, here we go, I done made it. No, I mean, the first day when we walked on set, the first day was so week. And just kind of seeing how many moving parts there were, and how much care was behind telling the story, how much care was behind every single detail. We did have rehearsals, we did talk about a lot before we went in, but the first day, there's a lot of pressure. Muhammad Ali used to say, people come to my fights to watch me win, some come to watch me lose. So I kind of had that mentality, like, I have a lot riding on this. Some people are probably like, who the hell is this pierced up, tattooed boxer person? But that was a moment where I'm like, all right, I'm supposed to be here. This is a lot riding on this. It was the first day. I mean, from the call to the plane to the apartment I had in Iceland. I mean, it was all like, wow, I can't. So, no, but it was really nice from the first day, and then it was like really, I didn't want it to end, basically.
How'd you select the Billie Eilish song? I don't know whose choice it was yours.
It was mine.
Why that song?
I was listening to that on repeat during the pandemic.
That's the credit song.
Yeah, and I wrote a bunch of the first passes of the episodes, listening to Billie Eilish in general. I suspected in form, I say very, shyly, I suspected in form. But then I listened to the song after making the show, and I was like, oh, that song is talking about a tongue stepping on a piece of glass, and I think I basically turned the song into a series. My own version and very, very freely adapted. So it was just a natural choice. And it played, it was so much fun to have this dark, dramatic moment and break it with, it was so much fun.
Shooting in Iceland, how cold did it get?
It was, I think,
That woman's from Buffalo. That Mexican, it was horrible.
20 to 25 degrees in the, we shot January, February, we shot 56 nights in the dark, in the cold, on the ice, 43 consecutive nights, 20 to 25 degrees. And had we done it in Alaska, it would have been -20. It was impossible to shoot in the real place, and Iceland was a great standard. And we had a crew that was just built to be outside and weathered so much, so many challenges, and they were just problem solvers, and we were really lucky. And we had amazing weather.
We got really lucky, I have to say.
And
You know what? Did we guys both on the same show because it was negative?
Yeah, I know.
They had matching jumpsuits, it was really cute.
You didn't know who was who.
No, there were nights, listen, a lot of the weather that you see in the show, there were nights where you would get out of the car to go to work and the door would slam on you, and it was so windy. There was one night in particular where I'm in the suit, it's, and I get to Issa's car and she's like, what the fuck? We're not gonna be able to shoot, how are we gonna be able to do this? And I was like, listen, Thor, who his name is Thor, was our supervising location manager. I said, Thor would have called us if we couldn't shoot. Don't worry, we're gonna do it. She's like, how are we gonna hear anyone? We're screaming at each other as it is because it's so loud from the wind. And then our DP gets out of his car and she's like, Florian, we're not gonna be able to shoot. And he's like, well, we have to try.
She's German.
And Thor's on the ice, prepping the ice, and we're like, Thor, we can't hear anything. How are we gonna be able to shoot? And he goes, oh, hold on. And he drives a van onto the ice to block the wind, to shoot the dialogue. He's like, don't worry, we have a solution for this. The whole thing was bonkers. That was amazing. And I think those were the nights that I felt really alive. When we were out in the cold and everybody's screaming at each other, and there's, the night where you guys are chipping through the ice to get to the ice cave, and we had gotten to location, it wasn't quite prepped, and we're beating the weather all the time and trying to keep everybody safe, and it was mayhem, but it was great fun.
And how many hours of darkness did you have per night?
We shot pretty much 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 2 o'clock in the morning, because Iceland, December through February is dark most of the time. It gets dark around 3 and doesn't get light until about 11.
Some very odd sleep schedules on some days. We're running out of time, but I want to ask if you thought anything about season 5.
I'm delivered so many pages of episode 5, so I've been thinking about it. non-stop, basically.
Tahiti.
It's going to be,
Aruba.
yes, the Amazon. We're going to the Amazon.
All right. Well, thank.